Welcome to the magical University of Muda's Computer Funhouse, ladies and gentlemen. Brought to you by a disclaimer, ladies and gents. I'm not going to put this in like I do for the deep web videos, okay? I got to make this one pretty evident. What we're about to discuss today is federally fucking illegal, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Let me point this one out. Okay, let me just get this all out of there. Don't do this, okay? Please don't pull any of this off, because it could end up getting you sent to prison, ladies and gentlemen, if you are caught. Now, I don't have to explain to you. I'm just going to give you an accurate estimate of what happens when you go to prison. This is typically from a North American perspective. Your asshole's going to be going from the size of this to this fucking big, okay? It's not a fun time, all right? And chances are, most of us here would have our assholes enlarged even larger than that. I don't know, maybe you're the one who's going to be doing the ass enlarging, but you know what? Why even take the risk, and why get a criminal record, right? So for that, today's video is all about educational purposes. Now that I've said that, I can pretty much tell you guys how to DOS stuff and take down websites, because it's all for an educational purpose. Again, don't be fucking doing any of this. But no, the reason I wanted to cover this is because last week we talked about botnets to an extent, right? With that Russian router hijacking. Well, I guess I'll show you guys an estimate or an example of how that stuff can be applied to in a more practical format. So chances are you've been watching a live stream, okay? You might have been watching a live stream from that loser Some Ordinary Gamers, and man, does his streams go down. God, fuck that Canadian internet. But sometimes there could also be something dastardly at work. See, for a time I actually had a DOSing problem where people DOSed me, and I found out that it was people getting my IP address through a Skype lookup. So regardless, I don't use Skype anymore. No, not anymore. But ever since then, I've sort of taken more cares to keep IP addresses away, because basically when a DOS attack will happen or something gets DOSed, your router eventually gets bombarded with so much information that it has to reboot, and you have to basically flush it out for you to even use it again. And it makes a problem for a lot of people. It's an easy thing to do, and unfortunately there are some defenses against it, don't get me wrong, but for the most part it's a douche thing to do, and script kiddies just get away with all that stuff as time gets on. Now, of course, the even scarier side of that is even going one step above and swatting some dude, but maybe we might even actually cover how that works at some point later in time too. But for now, I'm going to keep that touchy subject into the IRL streaming world where it's sort of taken over. But anyways, to the world of DOSing, there are multiple different kinds of things we'll be doing, and we're going to start off small and go all the way up to the big stuff. First of all, let's actually learn how to, I guess, make a DOSing tool, if you will, if we can even call it that. For a lot of people who don't know, there are things called batch files. They're not really programs as much as they are macros. Terminal commands you can macro into just one list and let them run as time goes on. They're very useful things if you're working and you're doing, if you want to just move files over, do some basic stuff, or if you're working with like, FFmpeg or something, or a terminal-based program, you're going to need to play around with batch files. They're used to this day, and they're relatively easy to make. You just need to open up Notepad, and when you're saving the file, you just do whatever name .bat. It's as simple as that. But let's go down to how we make one of these. For those of you who don't know, Windows comes with a lot of network tools out there. ipconfig, ping, whatever you want to call it. Ping is something that we're going to use in this situation. Now, assuming you have Windows 10, it's very easy to go up, open up Notepad, and easily start up or just write down your ping tools, if you will. You're not going to open up the terminal shell yet. All you have to do here is type in ping and the IP address. So the IP address could be any address you find over Skype, or, well, God forbid you don't do anything illegal. Again, I have to keep stating that over and over again. Or a domain address like Google, Facebook, Amazon, and any IP in your local network. For this case, for this training purpose, we're going to just put IP 127.0.0.1, and that is localhost, meaning that's actually the computer you're using right there. The only reason we're doing that is so we're not pinging anybody and committing some form of crime, if you will. It's not bad to ping someone, but I'll walk you through the kinds of spooky levels of ping that we can cover. But anyways, ping 127.0.0.1, and I believe if you type in -T, or I believe it's W, I believe it's actually -T, then the program will keep repeating itself. You can actually set it to echo off, or whatever, but if we set it to T, the -T command to it, instead of pinging just 4 times, it'll keep pinging over and over and over again. Save this as a batch file, call it, muda ping or, dolan pinger or something .bat in Notepad. Make sure you set the file type as all so it doesn't save it as a text. And you can immediately run it and it'll just keep pinging the address over and over and over again. That is cool, all right, but it's not exactly practical. For one, it's sending 32 kilobytes of data. And contrary to what a lot of script kiddies will tell you, if you open this batch file up like 300 times, it's not going to make it like 300 computers are attacking. Your network infrastructure, your network interface device or controller is just going to say, no, 300 programs, we're going to just create a traffic light system and make sure only one thing gets through at one time. You could open up 300 VMs and it'll still do the same. Your hypervisor is going to just say, no, 300 things, one after the other, okay? You're going to actually have to have 300 different computers for it to actually be a botnet over 300 different internet lines. The same IP attacking the other IP, no matter how much volumes you're using, is not going to make too much of a difference. The attacking node, the node that you're attacking, is just going to like look at that IP that's sending all the pings and just wipe it away. It's just going to ignore it. But what pings rely on, if you don't know, is a bunch of people from different locations attacking at the same time. And even then, this batch file that we made really doesn't do anything. In order for us to make it do anything, we have to malform it, or use something called a ping of death. That sounds spooky, but it comes from a historical term. See, if we go to the batch file and just type in -L, or I believe it's -W, it depends on which version of Windows you have, but I think it's -L, and you type in 65500. That number is pretty much the limit, the peak of the largest IP or the ping packet you can send using this command. And it is a malformed packet. This is the one packet that is classified as a harmful packet. Basically, we have buffered this packet from its 32 bytes of data, which is what an average ping packet is, to 65,000 bytes. And the reason why it's 65500 is so if we go above, the IPv4 protocol just doesn't use that. It was actually patched out a long time ago because anything above that just sends a computer's NIC into some weird weird moment, I guess, back in the day in the 90s. And it's kind of just stuck since then. It's a historical thing, if anything. But I believe it might be different with IPv6. I'm not exactly sure on that. I haven't done any of these malformed ping tests ever, so let me tell you, this is as high as I believe you can go. I think some versions allow you to go up to like 63,000 or 67,000, but 65,500 is a spot I think most people agree on. So regardless, once you have this command set and you start sending it to an IP, you start bombarding them with this much data, it's probably going to get ignored if it's just one computer. But having 300, a million computers doing this exact process at the same time is going to turn any data center onto its knees. And that's probably what we'll get into just now. See, this is what we call DOSing, or a denial of service attack. Now, you might have heard of the word DDoS, or distributed denial of service attack. The reason this isn't a DDoS, I guess, is because there is actually a distinction between the two. A DOS, denial of service, is one computer doing it, and the distributed denial of service is multiple computers. So it's just the plural version. Basically, for it to be a DDoS, there needs to be a botnet, and you need to have one command center basically telling the entire botnet to keep pinging or malform pinging something else over and over and over again. If you ever played the game Watch Dogs 2, the entire concept is basically getting enough followers to download an app to create a botnet large enough to handle the computational needs of the hackers DedSec in that game. That's a more, I guess, intricate way of how they handle it, but the whole botnet ideology remains the same. Now, there is a program most script kiddies know, most people who are entering, I guess you could say, the world of downloading malware or, hacking tools and getting away with it, is something called LOIC, Low Orbit Ion Cannon. We've seen it on a deep web video in web form at 1.2, haven't tested it out myself, but regardless, a program of it exists, and I believe it exists in Java, C++, literally anything. I think there's even an Android version of it or something you can, probably an iOS version too you can jailbreak in. But basically, all LOIC does is allows you to do the exact same thing that we've sort of been doing over here with a lot more intricate steps, a lot of variables you can change, and the ability to create hive minds, or botnets, if you will. And in fact, I'll actually show you that real quick. So let's go look at LOIC just to see what a DDoS client can sort of look like. So Windows Vista comes clutch with some of the finest wallpapers I could find, but here we've got LOIC, ladies and gentlemen. This is a program that we're talking about, the one that has the botnet Low Orbit Ion Cannon. Now, of course, when harpoons, airstrikes, and nukes fail, well, the low-orbit ion cannon is there to wipe any website off of the face of the earth. This one is version 1.0.8.0. I don't know what the most recent version of LOIC really is, nor do I necessarily care. This is more so showcasing to you all the beauty of modifying and creating and basically taking down websites, I guess you could say, in this way, shape, or form. So this is a more simplified version of it, and the more recent versions, as far as I know, or specialized versions, actually come with a hive mind functionality, just typically above this area. So typically where the mouse is right now would be where a hive mind would be located. And all this would necessarily amount to is, let's just say you could put in you could basically set up a bunch of clients, and then you could have a master server connect to these giant, basically create a hive mind, if you will, client and slave servers, and just basically send one message out to all the hundreds of different computers out there at the same time. But over here, we'll guide you through how it exactly works. So over here, you select your target, okay? And this way, you can set it to like 127. First of all, if I can even type, right? Oh, no, I cannot. I can't type. Sometimes, okay, Muda cannot type on the computer. And over here, you can lock on to 127.0.0.1, which is, of course, localhost. Next, you charge your laser. Now over here, you're doing it wrong. What the? I don't know. We were sending it memes. Okay, so it says select a proper attack method. I guess you could point out over there. But yeah, I guess that kind of actually has to do with well, here it's got the attack option. So you've got timeout for how long you're going to wait for any kind of a response from the website. So the website isn't alive. What's the point of spamming it with packets if there's nothing to it? Then you've got HTTP subsite, which is of course a specific subtype of that website, I guess you could say, a specific subtype, a subsite for the domain address you're firing on, and then the TCP UDP message, which is just messages in there, the data that's being sent in TCP. And that over here is a cat is fine too, desu, 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 tilde. Of course, port 80, and then you've got your methods over here, so you can set it to like TCP or whatnot. You can set it to like UDP or HTTP with 10 threads. Okay, this is how many users it's going to emulate. So 10 different versions of LOIC is going to be used. And I'll sort of show you guys how much Task Manager is going through. Not an accurate representation, but let me just show you guys how much it's going to pull off on a dual core system, I guess, in this way, shape, or form. So charge the laser. Of course, LOIC is currently active, I guess you could say, doing what it's doing. It's idle, it's trying to connect, it's requesting, downloading, it can't do anything to localhost, okay? And I'm not going to use something that is giving ping of deaths to other places because, technically you're DDoSing stuff, so I'm not even going to fucking bother with that shit. But regardless, you get the general idea of what you're going to use. People would download this, they would enter any address they wanted, so I don't know, www. ISIS headquarters, all right? So if you got ISIS headquarters.xxx, right, and you locked into that shit, write the complete address, okay? I have written the complete address. I'll just write it in the doc. Don't be surprised. ISIS headquarters.xxx doesn't exactly exist, ladies and gentlemen. So it really doesn't have a domain address to go out and find. But back to it, all right? This is exactly how LOIC really is. It's just a little glance at the kind of software. That being said, not much to really look at other than the, I guess, ubiquitous DDoSing tool used by many people out there. So we're going to back out and just head to the world of Muda in the past. And ladies and gentlemen, that was a DDoS client through and through, ladies and gents. That one was LOIC, of course, one of the more popular ones. Is it the only one you can get? No, not at all. You could make one yourself if you're getting into the world of creating hacks. I believe Kali Linux, a pen testing version of Linux, actually has an even better type of ping tool out there that you can at least use versus LOIC, but it is a generally good piece of kit around if you're into the malformed pinging market. But regardless, you shouldn't be, because it's fucking illegal, federally illegal. Imagine if you think a state prison can get your asshole this big, imagine the federal prisons. And imagine going to prison knowing that the rest of the inmates know, what were you sent here for? One of them might say murder, one of them might say super murder. What are you gonna say? I send pings? Malformed pings? It's not exactly going to work the way you want it to. Let me put that one out there. But that's enough of my assholeness for now, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you think about this episode, keeping it nice and concise, I guess you could say. I know I get a little nerdy, very, very nerdy, but next week we'll be taking a look at a pretty spooky set of malware, I guess you could say. One malware that is CIH levels of spooky. one from the Blast to the Past. We're going to look at worms later on too, and maybe I might even teach you how to finish up making that gaming VM. Let me know what you'd like to see next week, ladies and gents. I have a schedule. If you want me to stick to the schedule, I might as well stick to it. But if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Just like if you dislike it. Professor Muda out for the day. I am out.